Hello and welcome to the It's a Record Time podcast. I'm your host, Alex. This is the show where each week I am joined by a different guest to discuss their favourite albums, their biggest influences, and the bands that they love. This week I was joined by the brilliant Jen Razavi, aka Jen Pop, co-frontwoman and co-founder of the punk band The Bombpops. Me and Jen spoke back in December 2020, touching on a range of subjects, including her recent releases, watching Blink-182 of her mum, and why Taylor Swift is brilliant. The Bombpops were formed by Jen and her co-frontwoman Polly Van Dam in 2007, and 2020 saw the release of their second full-length, Death in Venice Beach, on the legendary Fat Records. The album was rightfully met with huge love from both fans and critics and was one of my favourite albums of the year. It was a lot of fun talking to Jen, and I'm just going to let you get on with the episode. I'll be back at the end to talk a bit more, as well as giving you the opportunity to win some stuff. So I hope you enjoy it. I realised today that it's 2 weeks till Christmas today, which seems to have, considering how slow most of this year's gone, it seems to have crept up a little bit, actually.
I feel like Christmas kind of always creeps up, but at the same time, like this year is just, it's a lost year in a lot of ways, in terms of the things that we were not able to do, we're supposed to do, and we keep getting teased here and there. It's like, oh, stuff opens up a little bit, and we plan a few things, that are safe and within the guidelines, and then it's like, no, can't do those. So.
You say that, but I mean, obviously 2020's turned out to be, I'm going to say, quite different to what all of us imagined. But you've had a busy year. I was looking at what you've been doing, and obviously Bombpops had the record out, and you were part of what I'm going to start calling the punk rock supergroup for Liquid Death. You started the Patreon, and you got a puppy.
Yes, you know what? Like, it's 2020 has been very good to me in different ways, because of not being on the road. Like, there's a lot of things that just totally wouldn't have been possible in my life before, and that doesn't mean that I don't wish that any of this happened, because yes, I've always, my entire life, I've wanted a dog, and it's been since I was, I was like, one day when I'm a grown up, I'm gonna have a dog, and it's like, what does that mean? I never had I finally live in a place where I have a little yard and I can have a dog, and it's like, I've got one, but that wouldn't have happened had I been touring. It takes a lot to just train a dog and have one in general. And also my, started a career with Liquid Death, and that's great. I'm sure that in some ways I could have worked with the company, remotely and on tour, because I was on before as well. And then, yeah, I have a boyfriend now. I don't think either of us would have, we've been friends for a long time, but he travels the world as well, like in a more kind of, I have warnings and time, not warnings. I have time to prepare to go on tour. Like, we plan these things out sometimes, like, a year in advance. These tours are planned out, but he's a photographer, and he'll get a job, and in a couple of days has to hop on a plane and go to Tokyo or whatever. So the both of us really, everything slowed down, and it's like, oh, we were able to connect in that way. And so yeah, I'm really, really, really thankful for that in a way. But my whole life has been leading up to making the record that we made, Definitely Gonna Speech, and I'm just so proud of it. All of the songs on it, and I think we had never sold out our own tour before, and the tour that we had in support of this album was almost all sold out, and that's huge for us. Yeah, it would have been really interesting to see what we could do with this album on the touring circuit. And
You didn't get to play any shows for it in the end, did you?
We canceled the show. Our record release show. Well, our record came out on March 13th, Friday the 13th of March, and we had a show that night in Los Angeles, like a small show. We booked it at this cool dive bar in Highland Park. We kind of wanted to have the first show be very like intimate and just like in your face. I mean, there's not even a stage at this place. And we wanted that. And, that was sold out. And it was like the 2 days before that. And then they put in, everything really started to hit the fan in terms of what was going on in the States and in Los Angeles, in California. And that day they put in the order that night, like, yeah, all events, that were more than 50 people or whatever was banned.
Yeah.
And so, in a way we could have probably still done that and got away with it, but it just wasn't the safe move. We didn't know anything about about coronavirus and
Yeah.
what we know now, but we did know that Polly was on the CDC list as like high risk. At the time it was your elderly people and people with some compromised immune systems, and she's a type 1 diabetic. So it just didn't seem like the safe thing to do. It's like, holy, no, we can't. This looks really bad. I think we could have gotten away with it. And at the time, like the numbers weren't what they are now or what they even were a few months after that. So, yeah,
Yeah, it's a difficult decision, but ultimately probably was the right one, I think.
it was a responsible one, I think. And at the time, a lot of people did not believe. Okay, I don't know. There was a lot of people are like, it's not that crazy. This is an over exaggeration. We can still do our tour. There were people out there still charging their tours, and I had caught wind of this. Like, it was way more real to me before it was like real and to a lot of my friends, because I spent some time living in Italy, actually in outside of Venice, and I played with a big
Oh,
band.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah, it was wonderful. I spent 5.5 months living there, and I played with a band there. So that's why I was there, to play with this Venetian band. And everything in Venice was. So I'm really close with them still. I talk to those guys all the time, and everything was like insane in Venice. And my friends were like, he called me and was like, this is going to happen to you. Go to the store now, get your stuff. I know that like the US doesn't believe it. I know that it's not on the radar." And he's like, "But your tour's not happening. You're not traveling." And I was like, she sent me some, videos and documentaries about it so far. And he's like, I've been inside my house. I haven't seen anyone in weeks. Like, this,
Yeah.
and he was telling me about the lines in the grocery store, and I couldn't believe it. Was just so crazy to me, and but like, and very scary. And I kind of felt like, I remember talking to our manager at the time and our people at the record label and the band. It's like, dude, this is what's happening. And there was a little bit of like, I don't know. I kind of felt like I was talking crazy talk to them,
Yeah.
and here it is. It's like, it sure enough happened. Responsible thing to do at that time, because people were still going ahead with their tours. And so I really, and the whole band, especially with Polly, was like, that is the responsible thing to do. So, yeah.
Definitely. It's quite wild. Like, so I do this thing where I've been doing it for a couple of years, and like every day I record 1 second of video, and then at the end of the year it puts it all together into like a nice sort of 6.5 minute long package, and it's really nice. But I looked at my year so far the other day, and I was blown away by just how quickly everything seemed to change. Like I was looking at it, and like 2 weeks before the UK shut down, I was like a Chris Farron show. Um, like, and I think like 1st of March, which is again like probably a week and a half or whatever before it shut down. Like I was at a Bad Cop show, and
Right.
it's absolutely incredible that like we weren't. I mean, I certainly wasn't aware of it at all, and we're sort of like in these sweaty little rooms. Then, sort of next thing we knew, sort of 3 months not leaving the house.
It is so crazy. And I remember um, thinking, and then all the stages of it. And here in the United States, it's like, come, May, late May, early June, on the Black Lives Matters movement really
Mm,
started to, with George Floyd's death, and the all of the protests in the streets, which was just such a necessary change, like for our
Yeah.
country. And I'm really happy that people have mobilized in that way to get out there and make a difference. But it's just like, oh, remember last week, and then it was just a pandemic, and we all thought we were going to die of this. Well, now there's like extreme civil unrest and protests in the streets, and like just blatant police brutality in your face happening. And yeah, remember when it was just a simple deadly disease? Well, now there's all this going on, and then it's like, oh my gosh, and then Donald Trump on top of it, and the election year. It's like, whoo, what the hell is it's just amazing. It's like it must be the most packed year of everything under the sun in a long time.
Well, we've still got 2.5 weeks to go, so who knows what's going to.
That's the thing. It's like nothing could surprise me. Nothing will surprise me. And I remember, and that election, our election was just so drawn out. And I remember on like election night, it wasn't looking good, and I was just prepared. I was like, well, you know, like it just was so grim, but like what can you do at that point? And then that whole week was just slow
Yeah.
motion. Um yeah, so anything can happen in the next 2 weeks here.
So, having the new album out, you would have been on that touring schedule and you would have been able to sort of get a reaction from the fans to the new songs and everything else. So, you couldn't have that bit. But as we're sitting here talking now, it's December and sort of all of those end of year lists are coming out and everyone's doing their Spotify wrapped things and all the rest of it. How does it feel to have your album appearing on so many of those lists and like seeing so many people talking about that record and how they've been listening to it this year?
Oh, it's just like it's super emotional. It's really like I could tear up thinking talking about it right now because just as a band, there's certain things you do it because it's just been we do it because it's fun. We do it because we're addicted to playing live. We do it because we love playing in a band. We love opening for our favorite bands. And but one thing you wanna do, it's like I remember just being like, we wanna play to a sold out room with people singing along to our lyrics,
Yeah.
and that's such a, because that's what I do when I go to shows, and that's, like, how I know, you're seeing some of your favorite bands, is you go there, you sing along with your friends, and it's there's no feeling like it in the world, and so for us to write that music that people can sing along to, like, with conviction, that's a life goal. Like, I mean, you have this thing that you put out there, and people accept it as their own and interpret it as their own, and that's really special. So yeah, to see it, not being able to have that experience of, I mean, people singing back in your face. I remember the first time that we saw people singing back to our lyric or our songs. It was so emotional, and yeah, so seeing it on, I woke up the other morning to text from Fat Mike, and he said, "Congrats on the AP list on AP," and I hadn't even looked at my email yet, and yeah, our publisher Vanessa had sent us that we were on, AP's 50 best albums of 2020, and man, to be included in that is it is a dream come true, and it's really nice to know that all of our work and personal sharing of personal kind of experiences on that album resonate with people.
And eventually the world will open up again and we will be able to go out to shows again and you guys will be able to play again. So you will still have that moment, but I think it's obviously quite a difficult thing where there's going to be sort of 12, 18 months away from releasing the album, let alone, it could be the best part of 2 years from starting to write these songs. So I can imagine it being sort of a really difficult thing.
Yeah, it's a couple things there. One, well, first of all, the silver lining in that is that people will have had time, a lot of time to absorb this album and listen to it and know the ins and outs of it and listen to, podcasts like this about it, or hopefully maybe watch some of our track by tracks or whatever. Know the album, you know, and connect with it in their own way. So yeah, like hopefully that's just more time for more people to find out about us or listen to the album and learn the song. So that's cool. But I hate to be like pessimistic about it, but I think it will come back in a way, and that'll be a very long time. Like we don't know, maybe end of 2021,
Mm.
some type of a live show will come back, but it's gonna be weird as all get out. And
Yeah.
even in 2022, it's going to be weird. It's going to be these half capacities or the thing about like these venues crowded selling out a dive bar or like a 200 capacity small venue where you like the walls are like there's like condensation on the walls from people's sweat dripping and like you can taste the people in the room and it's like that is such a part of being in a punk band and
Yeah.
there's a different level, like even if we play an amazing festival and it's outside, like we did in 2019, we were on the Punk and Drublic tour, and we got to play to like some of the biggest crowds we've ever played. Or when we played, punk rock holiday, I remember that was in 2018 in Slovenia. That was like the biggest audience we've played to, and that's an incredible feeling. But nothing beats the feeling of being in a packed, low ceiling venue with kids and like crowd surfing up into your face. And that's not coming back. And by the time it does, I mean, but it'll be like, ooh, like we're getting like, it's going to be a long time and we won't, I don't want to be pessimistic about it, but like, it's just like, playing in dive bars and sweaty, that kind of like thing. It's really great. I hope I do it for the rest of my life. But will there be a part of me when I'm like, 5, 10 years from now? It's like, oh, doing that. I don't know. I think that'll always be there for us. But it's
Yeah.
like, what's gonna, yeah. It's really hard to say. But we're there for whatever it happens, and I think that we're the like a level of a band that actually is in a good position because we have like we're not just coming up out of nowhere. We didn't just start. We've got like this amazing traction, especially with this album. But we never made money. Like we never we didn't anytime we went out on tour up until the last tour we did, it's like, oh, we got to the point where we would more than break even. We would take some home and it was enough to pay like a month of rent or something like in LA, which is pretty good. And I consider that a success. It's like, oh, we all had to take off a month of work. Well, at least we're able to keep our apartments because that was a part in the past where it's like I've moved out of apartment so I could go on tour.
Yeah.
I moved home with my parents so I could go on tour. And so like we were at that level. But I feel there's a special like, there's working bands that have been in bands forever, but they're not Green Day or they're not, like rock star like huge status, but they tour consistently to like make money and it's a great life and people and they love it. But like I feel really bad for that group because when it comes back, they rely on like, those numbers and the merch sales to like make a living. Whereas we've never had that quite.
Yeah.
And so when we come back, it's like, yeah, we're okay. We could play a half capacity, like a beautiful venue or whatever. And if it's at say a 500 capacity venue and we're at half capacity, that doesn't seem weird to us. And we're still like on some smaller band, baby band level. It's also like, oh, well, like maybe we'll book house shows and go out on tour that way. And like, I'm down for that. We can do that. And, so I'm kind of excited. I mean, of course, I'm excited to see how it develops. Like, I think there'll be a return of DIY spaces. I
Yeah.
think there's gonna be some silver lining to like taking it back. And the thing is, we're in a punk band, and the punk band is built around that. It's like, yeah, we'll play your basement, we'll play your whatever your industrial warehouse.
Definitely. And it's interesting. I was speaking to Dave, the drummer from War on Women, about this at some point in the last couple of weeks, and he was saying much the same things. It is about the fact that the punk scene, we can be very, very, very DIY. We can go out, we can put on shows anywhere, and will probably make it work as long as there are some venues still left at the end of all of this.
That's the thing is, that's the real tragedy here is those venues because I mean we wouldn't be the band that we are. Any band would not be the band that they are unless you're like a manufactured band or you just got really lucky and like you wrote a hit record or a hit song and you came out swinging. But most bands hone their craft and learn how to play and learn how to like look at the audience or not look at the audience or play and not
Yeah.
just look down at your guitar. Like you learn all of that on these stages. And like every band I think in our genre knows what that club is. For Polly and I, since we first started the band, it's like we were playing shows when we shouldn't have been playing shows, I don't think, but it was the Jumping Turtle in San Marcos and California, and it was the Royal Dive in Oceanside, and it was the Metaphor Cafe in Encinitas. It's like or Escondido, and so yeah, it's really sad to have to watch those places go. But you know, being in a punk band, it's like some of it's not always about like the best sound. It's about the
Yeah.
experience and singing along and getting rowdy and feeling emotion. So if we have to play somewhere where it's not the best sound and there's no stage and whatever, like we'll make it work.
I wanted to ask as well, before we move on to speaking about some other people's music, I wanted to ask you about the Liquid Death Greatest Hates
Yeah.
Volume 2 album, which came out in November. So, for people who don't know Liquid Death, I don't think it's available over in the UK. I haven't
No.
been able to find any. And I can't get the record shipped over here yet either, which is quite upset me. But can you explain what Liquid Death is and the idea behind the Greatest Hates album?
Yes. Well, first of all, we should have international shipping on that very soon. So
Amazing.
I've got a few people I'll add you to my list that are like, let me know when it is. And that's like, I'll let you know. Um, yeah, so Liquid Death is a water company. It's as simple as that, really. But
Hmm.
we're not just a water company, and that we are like we have a cult following, kind of like a band. We are sell canned water. It's Austrian spring water, so it's actually canned in Austria.
Yeah.
And we have still and sparkling. And our main thing is death to plastic. It's like everyone has to drink water. Everyone is drinking out of water bottles, and it's single use plastics are a really huge problem for the world. And that was motivation. That's kind of what sets us apart is canned water, but also they're like a tall can. So and there's this kind of like heavy metal branding behind it if you see our logo, and the name is called Liquid Death. And we really kind of just go over the top with our marketing because it's just like, why not have fun with it? It's like you're selling water, and every other brand of water is just really boring. Like, is it cool? Like, there's nothing cool about Aquafina or I don't know, Evian. I mean, I guess there used to be like that was like a high class type thing, or Fiji water. But just to have water that you'd want to drink at a show or with your friends. And I think that there's a huge place for it, not just for sustainability, but like a lot of younger kids aren't just drinking beer. They've skipped their beer phase and they're on to like seltzers or whatever, or there's just weed is huge. So
Yeah.
you hanging out at a show, you've got to like sip on something. It's might as well have something cool in your hand. So yeah, but unfortunately, or not unfortunately, fortunately, a lot of people like don't understand the brand, and I mean, to be honest, the first time that I saw it, I was like, "What? This is ridiculous." But it tastes good. And then they sent me some. They sent the band some, and I remember at the time I was like living at my dad's house because I moved home for to go on tour, and so it was shipped to my dad's house, and my dad was like, "This is so stupid. What is this?" And but he couldn't stop talking about it. It's like anytime someone would come over, he's like, do you want a liquid death? And like, just, it's a conversation starter. So there's that aspect of people, of it to people, but and then in our marketing campaigns, it'd be like, because of the metal aspect, there's like a lot of use like a lot of satanic imagery, and our commercials are pretty dark in that matter, and it really does offend some people. Like, they can't believe that we use Satanism in our in our marketing. There's a lot of we just have some over the top like cartoon advertisements. You can watch them on YouTube if anyone wants to like see what I'm talking about here. They're pretty gory, and so a lot of them, we had a lot of comments on our social media, YouTube, and like, how dare you, promote violence to kids and all of this stuff. So Liquid Death made earlier this year, they actually made volume one is a death metal album, and it was produced by Gus Rios, and had some other people play on it in the death metal world, some people on Relapse Records. I'm not really familiar with the death metal world, but it had some, great names on the album. And
Yeah.
I think Gus Rios was the main guy that produced it, and Blasco as well, who's a guitar player. He's played for Ozzy Osbourne and works with Rob
Very
Zombie.
cool.
Yeah,
Very cool. Very on brand.
yeah, super cool. So they that was their original album, and that's funny, and that's super funny because, so sorry, the lyrics for the album, both volumes, are all actual internet hate comments. And so they're all real comments, and set to, the first one is death metal, and the death metal one is really funny because you can't understand the lyrics really, which is, you can't really understand the lyrics in death metal anyway. So it's like, rah, rah. But if you read it, it's these like ridiculous comments like, fire your marketing guys, or, whatever, fire your marketing team. And so they wanted to do another one. And I was working for them at the time. And the CEO asked if I was into producing it. And then I was like, yeah. And we kind of just were going back and forth on some ideas. And he was like, yeah, that'd be awesome if you could, like, have some other people play on it in punk bands. And he was like, do you know Brendan Kelly from the Lawrence Arms? I was like, I do. He's a good friend of mine. And he's like, do you think he'd be into working on it with you? Like, the CEO really thought it'd be cool if Brendan Kelly was on it, and we kind of had a blend of voices. And I was like, yeah, I'll ask him, and sure enough, Brendan was down. And then at that point, it's like we had a West Coast representation, which was myself, and we had a Midwest representation, being the Lawrence Arms. And we thought it'd be really cool to, like, in the spirit of, American punk, to get someone from the East Coast to like collaborate as well, so that we could have like a blend. And the idea was to have all of our voices on all songs. So
Hmm.
on the East Coast, we brought in Chris number 2 from Anti Flag, and it's like, I love Chris number 2. Brendan and Chris get along really well, and it was just an amazing dream team. So we all three of us wrote the songs and demoed them. And
So how do you? I was interested in the writing process for this.
yeah,
So you effectively just got given a load of negative messages from people, a load of it,
correct.
and
Yeah, they gathered the messages from all, like, Facebook, Instagram, emails,
yeah,
some YouTube comments, and stuff like that. And yeah, so they just sent me a Google Drive folder of the comments, and then I went through them initially, and like these ones are hilarious. And
yeah,
then kind of like, because it's different for like the death metal album, because there's not quite like hooks, in death
yeah,
metal. Whereas, on my end, for like for my songs, it's like, and for Chris and Brendan too, we wanted to like get some of these hooks, pop punk type hooks in there. And so we would kind of like piece together some of the best comments. So like, putting together two comments that were kind of the same, and then putting them into one song. So we did some arranging, and Brendan and I arranged, and then we brought Chris in. And yeah, I wrote my songs at home, like, and then Brendan wrote his, and we sent them to Chris when we brought Chris on. And Chris was like all of quarantine has been having like a song studio. So he's said he'd written like 70 songs or something and
Wow.
since this started. And so we sent him our voice memos. And Brendan and I have the same type of like voice, like how I demo is the same as Brendan does, where it's just acoustic guitar and vocals. And
Mm.
so we sent them to Chris, and Chris comes back in like 10 minutes with a full-on demo. Like, "Well, how did you do that?" You know? And so he demoed ours, and which made it really the process a lot faster. And then Chris wrote songs as well. Then Chris and Brendan flew out to California, and we recorded, which was great. I mean, that was a window of 2020 where that was safe enough to do. And we all got COVID tests, and Josh from the Bombpops played drums on it. It's funny because we discussed some other drummers, like guest drummers, to have on, and once we were discussing that, Chris was like, why? Like, you have like the best drummer. We need Josh. Like, there's no reason, especially for the style of what we're doing. Like, no, like no way." And Brendan, Neil Hennessy from the Lawrence Arms lives in Los Angeles too, so he was an option. But because it was a little bit more of this, and he would have been great as well. It's just like, but because it was kind of like, I don't know, Josh was, I think the style really fit
Yeah.
Josh just well. And yes, it was a lot of fun. And I cannot tell you how fun it was in that studio because it's like, I remember the song, it's called The Flu. And it's like syphilis, gonorrhea, and the flu. It's like someone was like, "I hope everyone at this company gets syphilis, gonorrhea, or the flu." It's like, wow, okay. And so we were in there singing, and Chris number two was like, "Okay, so Jen, do you want gonorrhea or the flu? Because Brendan has syphilis." And I was like, "What is going on?"
What I found amazing about the album is that like it it sounds really good anyway, and like I really enjoy the amount of energy that's gone into like essentially just a ridiculous joke. Like it really tickled me. There was one of the lines which was I've been in the beverage industry for 27 years or whatever, and it just absolutely killed me when I first heard it. It's
Dude, me too, and it's such a like, that's such a flex, like, somebody out
yeah.
there is like, "I've been in the beverage business for 27 years," and, like, it full on, the whole comment was, "I grab a can of Liquid Death before it disappears like so many forever, like so many others," and it's like, it's so funny because I mean, I've worked in bars and restaurants, and when beverage like reps come in, it's, I mean, no diss to like square beverage reps out there, but like there's a very stiff person, and it's like you're coming in with a tie to like sell us, you know, beer or whatever. But the whole sales team at Liquid Death is just punk rock, and a lot of people they don't have actually like like that background. A lot of the sales reps,
Yeah.
Holly's just got hired on as a sales rep now for Liquid Death, and she's never
Oh, awesome.
worked in that, but she has the it's you have to have like the bravado to be a sales rep. So it's really, that song is like one of my favorites because I'm like, this is the anthem, like this is like the anti, I don't know, fuck you for like the whole sales rep team at Liquid Death, because it's like some person, it's like such a funny flex. And I really thought it was funny in that case, like to repeat the 27 years,
Yeah, yeah,
because it's like, oh yeah, 27 years, like 27 long years.
yeah. For every track on that record, I just end up picturing what the person looks like.
So that was what we were doing when we were in the studio, actually, like when we were delivering
Oh,
these
okay.
lines, because it was so funny. And it's like we all wrote the songs, but we all have lines on the songs. So it's not like I just sang on the songs that I wrote or vice versa.
Hmm.
And so we're getting in there and we're just like, sometimes I'd be like, I don't know what's my angle for like singing this. And we all just kept being like, just think of that angry mom, or you think of that person that it's this like square Christian person at home that can't believe, we use Satanism. And man, we were dying. Like I have Paul Miner, who is the engineer, and he used to be in Death by Stereo. He's just a great go-to guy in Southern California. The Bombpops recorded a track there for that Red Scare comp, actually, and
Hmm.
this is really quality work. I love how he works, and he was like, "I haven't had this much fun making a record in so long." It's like, neither have I. I mean, I making the Bombpops record is a different kind of fun.
Yeah.
This was like just insane. And being in the studio with Chris and number two and Brendan was such a delight because both of them are so smart and so fucking funny and but so completely different and like oh my gosh, I could listen to those two go on for days just with each other or it's fascinating people to be around and yeah, what the heck? That would not have happened. There's no way that that would have happened if there wasn't a pandemic because we would all
Yeah.
be on tour. We all Anti-Flag, Lawrence Arms, and Bomb Pops all had albums come out this year. We'd be on tour. There'd be no way we'd be able to like get in a room together to make this album. So that was really special and one of the cool things that happened this year. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice that there's some positives from this year, definitely. There's this album and your puppy, so that's nice.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm going to move us on to speak about some other people's
Sure.
records. So the first one I wanted to pick up on was because we've sort of been talking around it as well. Is your favorite live album?
Yeah. Um, uh, yes. Hands down. It's really funny because I was talking about this with my boyfriend last night, and I was like, "That's so funny. I want to talk about this on the podcast I'm doing tomorrow," because he had never heard it. And I remember we were driving out to Palm Springs, and we're both fans of Blink 182, and but I was like, oh, have you ever heard, the live Blink-182 album, Mark, Tom, and Travis show? He's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And I was like, "Oh my god, it is the best." It is hands down. I mean, that came out I was at that tour, and that was my first concert, was that tour.
Oh, amazing!
Yeah, so when they put out that live album, that whole experience of seeing Blink-182, on that tour, like, changed my life for sure. Like, I would not be doing what I'm doing if I didn't have that experience. So the fact that there's a live album of that, is really funny because, um well, one of the things, it's just I was like in seventh grade, and my mom took me, and it's just like the raunchiest. I mean, imagine being a parent and taking your okay, you want to go to a concert, and it's just like shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, tits, fart, turd, and twat. And my mom, she more or less, for me, it was like whatever, but she took like my best friend at the time, and she was just mortified that like she exposed someone else's child to this thing. And the funny thing about it was after that show in seventh grade, like I grew up in Carlsbad, California, on the Carlsbad Encinitas, and Tom DeLonge lived in Encinitas, and the band's from Poway, and
Hmm.
um, like a week after that, I went to the farmers market with my mom, and it was in this parking lot in Encinitas. There was like a surf shop there, a hair salon, some restaurants, and they did the farmers market there. And we were walking back to the car, and I saw Tom DeLonge walking into a hair salon, and I froze, and I just stopped, like stood, and I just grabbed my mom, and I was like, "Mom, that's Tom. That's Tom." And she was like, "What are you talking about? Who?" And I was like, "Tom DeLonge." She's like, "Who is that?" And I was like, "From Blink 182." And she's like, "Oh, let's go say hi to him." And I was like, "No." But we went, she was like, "We're gonna go say hi." And so she followed him inside the hair salon, and there was no one, it was just him and like the receptionist. And she goes up to him, like kind of like marches up to him. He's sitting down, and she goes, "Hi, Tom. We went to your concert last week." And he stood up and was like, oh, no, he didn't he was sitting down, I remember, because he was looking up at my mom, and he was like, "I am so, so sorry. I said so many bad words. I'm so sorry." And my mom, like, loved it from then on. She was like, "Oh, it's okay. I didn't really," she's like, "I actually liked the opening band, Bad Religion. I liked them." And, anyway, she, like, had him sign my T-shirt, and so the
Amazing.
fact that that album is like on a CD, and they captured the whole thing of it so well that going on, like when the Bombpops were first a band, um, first started, I think we went on our first tour in 2009, and our original drummer was someone that my really good friend from high school,
Mm.
and we started Bombpops when I was out of high school, but Polly was still in high school, and she went to a different school. But um, so myself and the drummer, we were out of high school, but him and I like met because he played like a battle of the bands. I don't know, we just bonded over bands,
Yeah.
and of course Blink 182. And
Yep.
once we went on our first tour, his name was Dylan, and would listen to that Blink 182 record and just sing along, but also like sing along and like say the jokes along with it. Like we knew every single word of that album. So I don't
So
know.
what year did that album come out? It was about 98 off the top of my head, something like
No,
that?
it was 2001, I think, or 2000.
Okay.
Yeah, 2000, because
2000.
the tour was in May, but I think that they recorded it. Oh, this is interesting. Here, I'm looking at it. In 1999, but
Okay.
yeah, and so that was when I went to. It was May 11th, 2000, and 2000 was the show. So maybe
So
now I'm looking at it. I'm like, wait, did it? It says it was recorded in 1999. So actually, it wasn't that tour, but it was like the same exact era. It was,
yeah.
it's like that tour probably started in 99, and like I don't know exactly, but it was off, for Enema of the State, and so it was the same show. It felt like exactly the same material, and
So presumably then sort of late 90s, early noughties, it's about the sort of time you were first getting into a lot of punk, a lot of skate punk. Is that fair to say?
yeah, for sure. And it really was at the time. The radio was cool, especially in Los Angeles. Like
Mm.
I moved school I was like seventh grade. I was started in LA County, and then I moved during seventh grade to San Diego. And LA County had K Rock, and San Diego had 91X, and both were great radio stations then. And so I found out a lot of music through the
Yeah.
radio. But I remember being like, why do I like this song versus this song? I didn't know anything about it. It's like, and I loved, damn it, and I loved Green Day on the radio, and I loved The Offspring. And one time someone was like, you like punk, that's why, those are punk things. Like, oh cool, I like punk. I remember like the realization of being like, really, I like punk, that's so cool. And then, of course, another friend was like, "Well, that's not really punk." It's like, well, um, and digging in through it from there. But I also had a friend, a neighbor kid that around that same time, he was like, "Oh yeah, you like those bands?" Then he came over with this whole CD book, and I remember he showed me the Vandals for the first time, and
Very cool.
more of the Offspring, and like listening to Dookie like as a whole. And so that really, yeah, I dove into a lot of it, and I dove into like really pop punk
Yeah.
more than anything. It wasn't until like later that I went like backwards and got more into. It's still, I know, pop punk, but like all Epitaph and um,
Yeah. Yeah.
Fat
Yeah.
Records catalog. But I love Drive Through, and I love Vagrant, and I just kept digging into it that way. And then a lot through Blink 182. I remember the reading everything. It's like, oh, they Tom likes the Descendants. What's that? You know?
Your mom sounds pretty cool taking you to like the Blink show and being like, yeah, I like Bad Religion and stuff. Like, what was her music taste like? Is it along the same sort of lines? Do you think you picked anything up from your parents in that
um,
respect?
Not like my mom actually. No, I just think that she was supportive of me, like, wanting to,
Yeah.
go to concerts. And, my dad, though, more or less, like, my dad played guitar a bit, like, not in a band or anything, but he always had a guitar, and he was always
Yeah.
playing on it. And so, coincidentally, I started playing guitar just about maybe like a month or so before going to that concert. So it was really, and I picked it up because it's like, oh, I like bands. I want to play guitar. Oh, my dad has a guitar. I remember I wanted to play the drums, and my mom was like, "Hell no, you're not playing the drums." But your dad has a guitar. It's like, yeah, I want to play guitar. And then so I was so into it at that age that and also since I had just moved schools, I was like really sad because I didn't want to move and I missed all my friends. I didn't have
Mm.
friends, and like Carlsbad was such a different vibe than LA. Carlsbad's like kind of, I don't know, there's just some bougie like beach. I remember I didn't know what like, I never wore makeup. I didn't care about clothes or anything until I moved to Carlsbad, and it's like everyone had like, girls had Coach bags and like MAC makeup, and like I didn't know what Forever 21 was, the store, and it's like, oh, I had, my favorite shirt was like a shirt that had a Labrador Retriever on it that I got from Pet. You know? Like, that was, like, my favorite shirt, and I just was like, "Okay, I gotta figure out how to be cool really quick." Um, but I just didn't have, like, friends right off the bat, and so my kind of, like, I love just staying home and playing guitar,
Yeah.
I think picking it up at that time was really, crucial to me learning how to play guitar and sticking with it.
I'm going to move us on to our next category as I'm conscious of time.
Yeah.
So the next one we're going to go for is your most played ever album. Can you tell us what you've gone with?
Yeah. I would have to say that it would be, I think, Alkaline Trio, Good Morning.
Oh, great pick.
Oh, good. I agree. And the whole band, that band as a whole, I'll say, is my favorite band because I love every song on every album, and that's kind of why I say that they're my favorite band. It's like I have a lot of bands that I think are great, but through and through, I don't think that they do anything wrong, and I love all of the different evolutions of the band. And it does none of their evolutions seem forced. They just do what's right at the time, and they've experimented slightly and come back to stuff. And yeah, but Good Morning, if you made me pick, would be my favorite one, and I know that I still listen to that song, album.
It's one of the few albums that I remember hearing for the first time, um, being sat on the back of the school bus, it being played out of the world's worst little speakers, battery powered speakers, like skipping on a Walkman. And I remember hearing it and just being like, "Yep, need to go home and get everything that they've done so far." And yeah, they're just such an incredible band.
Totally. I totally agree. I had heard from Here to Infirmary first, and I found I got it because I was in a car with some friends, and we were all like smoking weed down at the beach. I don't know, or something like that. And someone had was like decided they weren't into punk anymore. I don't know what it was, but they threw out like a CD book. They were about to throw out the CD book, and I saw that there was like a No Effects CD in there and like some cool that I had known of. And so I was like, I'll take that. Don't throw it away. Like,
Mm.
they were all burned CDs. And so I went home and like I saw the Alkaline Trio in there, and I put it on, and I was like, I mean, I've never, yeah, looked back from Pure Infirmary. And then Good Morning came out after, so like shortly after I was like aware of the band. And
So Dan played on the Liquid Death records, didn't he?
yes, oh my gosh, yes.
How is it meeting someone like that? Like, do you find yourself just wanting to tell him how much you love all his stuff, or are you trying to play it cool?
Well, I've we played with Alkaline Trio in 2014,
Mm.
and I try to play it cool, but I'm also can be like Punisher to a bit in terms of just like, yeah, I'm sure that I said that I've told him before that, but I hadn't, I don't know him,
Mm.
but I'm sure I've told him that. And I remember recently, let's see, when was it? When I saw Alkaline Trio after this thing Cursed came out, is this thing
Yeah.
Cursed came out, I saw them, and I went with my friend who was friends with the band. Oh no, I saw my friend there who was teched for them at one point in time, and he was like, "Oh, let's go
Okay.
say hi backstage," and said hi to Dan, and like Dan, he remembered that we had played with him, and so he was really nice. But for the Liquid Death album, he actually did it remotely, as well as Tim from Rise Against and Joe
Okay.
from Rise Against, and Ashrita from Pink Shift and Jer from We Are the Union. They were all like, we did the album, and then it was like we wanted to have some special guests on it, but we, we had to just kind of like for the sake of time, we did it and we sang the parts, and then we're like, let's see who, like, let's
Yeah,
we
yeah.
wanted, we asked, those were the first people that we asked, and they said yes. Like those were, we kind of like talked about who would be cool and like who do we know well, and Chris and Brendan both know Tim and Joe very well, and Brendan, of course, really good friends with Dan, and so, but when those came back, to hear Dan on that song, and Dan also plays the guitar lead on that song, which is such a like unique, kind of bizarre
Yeah.
lead that it's like way cool. I mean, definitely like cried, like just tears in my eyes. And then when Tim came back with that song that he sings, I thought he was just gonna sing a line. We didn't want to like, here, sing the whole thing. And he came sang the whole entire thing, and he added in the plays, and like I was like, "What the fuck?" Like, this sounds like a Rise Against song.
So I'm going to assume then that you would put an Alkaline Trio record in your top sort of 3 or 4 records in general. Is there sort of what other stuff would be in there?
Oh, well,
If it's possible to make such a list, of course.
yeah, it's super hard to make such lists, but man, it's really hard because it just goes through, like, phases. But yeah, of course,
Mm,
Alkaline Trio, I think Descendants, and it's hard to just pick a Descendants
yeah.
album. I think Sommary is, like, one that I consistently go
Okay.
to, yeah, but, and man, you know what I love? And it's not like, speaking of Descendants, is there was an all CD, like, and it's everyone's like, "Well, who's your favorite all singer, and what's your favorite all?" But they put out, a comp it was like the best of all, and
Yeah.
it's really hard to search for. You can't find it on Spotify or even on, like, Apple Music, because I don't know that it was ever put out in that way.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
on a CD. Do you know anything about that?
No, not off the top of my head. Like, all are a band that I only got into in the last couple of years. Like, I've listened to Descendants for a while, but I just sort of I think I was just quite lazy and never really got into them. So, no, I haven't come across that. I'm very much still just going through all of their albums.
Right, and it's hard, and it's interesting because the different singers are so,
Hmm.
different, but, it's like it's still All, and Bill Stevenson's writing the songs, and, but the first I was introduced to All was actually the best of All, and so I was
Yeah.
like, "This is so cool," and to me, it's still like it's like all of the best All songs on one record, but I do love that one, and it's hard to listen to, it's hard to find, but, I'd have to say, like, up in there with top albums. Menzingers, again, another like just everything that
Uh,
they do is great. But I'd
yeah.
say, I mean, I can't even. Um, they're all so great. After the Party, Rented World. Um,
I love Tallow Exile. I thought From Exile was a really interesting, great way to do something this year as well.
well, you know what? I felt the same way. I remember at first the first track that they had out, I was like, "That's cool. It's interesting. It's like
Mm.
kind of strange that they're doing that, but I really loved it." And then I've been playing like so much acoustic guitar this year, more than I ever have, like learning covers. And I started playing around myself with like songs off Death in Venice Beach and older Bomb Pop songs for my
Mm.
Patreon to just like, how can I do these songs differently? And they don't really transcribe well to acoustic guitar, just like playing the power chords. So I hadn't really ever even played with a capo much before, or like different voicings. And I started doing it with the songs on Death in Venice Beach, and it was like really fun. And it's like you tap into like a sweet spot that's like, oh my god, this song has, it's like it has like so much more, or
Yeah.
not more, just a different depth. And like after I did that, and Polly and I were getting together for a while, and we played a few of them. We've never played them for anybody but ourselves, but like we were like playing around with them in different voicings, and we were both like, "Holy shit! Like that's so cool with just the capo, on a different fret." And so to hear, so now I was like, it must have been so cool for the Menzingers to do that this year with those songs.
It reminded me a lot of, Damnesia,
Hmm.
and, like, when Trio did that as well, I remember that album coming out and just sort of being blown away by just how different they managed to make those songs sound, and how beautiful some of it sounded as well. Like, I think, both Matt and Dan are incredible songwriters, but I think it came across so well on that album in particular. And I think it's, yeah, the same thing, the Manzanga stuff as well. Like, it really let the lyrics speak. And, is that something you'd consider doing as like a proper release for the Bomb Pops, or is it
Oh
something you're gonna
yeah.
try and keep on your Patreon?
No, oh, I would definitely love to do that. I don't know. I mean, there's no plans to do that, but definitely
Yeah.
plans to like discover them that way with Polly, at least at first, and then do them with Neil and Josh too, and figure out how to do them. Like, I would really love to. But there's no plans to do that. But
Yeah.
I can see why now. And I do love like Bayside. I love the band Bayside, and they have their acoustic. I think there's two of them, but there's one in particular. And they have a new one, or they have some new songs coming out in the same way. It's really cool. I have a new appreciation for it now that I play acoustic guitar so much, and I've been playing around with ways to do things differently.
So the next category then is the record that you recommend to everyone. What's the album and how do you recommend it to people?
Well, like I'm gonna throw out one that I've recommended recently to people in like my circle in terms of like people like my band,
Yeah.
and like my best friend, my cousin. I recently showed it to my boyfriend, and it's like because it's kind of not on the radar for. I don't know. I'm sure that it lived in a different like realm, but I'm not sure where it would be for people that like because I came across it. Well, it's K Flay is the artist, and she has an album called Everywhere is Somewhere. It came out in 2017. I found out about it in 2019 because on the last Fiddler album, she
Mm,
sings a song, like sings like it's like a duet. Um, and I was like, who is this voice on the Fiddler song? Let's see, it's she sings on Called You Twice is the name of the song. So I looked into it, and like her top song on Spotify, it's called Blood in the Cut. And I was like, holy shit. Immediately I was like hooked, and I went just to like check out the whole album. And I remember I was working at a job in San Diego, like in an office at the time, and I heard it and I was like mesmerized. I listened to that album on repeat for while I was writing Death in Venice Beach, my portion of it. So early 2019, I think I would turn on to this album in like February, and it's just really open, like in terms of like what she's singing about. It's like everything's out there, but lyrically, beautiful. It's like a hip hop record, I guess, kind of
okay.
like, but the production on it is like super cool. It really like got me my I don't know, there was something about it that inspired me to like keep writing. I mean, I probably listened to that a lot, like most of the time when I was like finishing up my songs on Death in Venice Beach. I was listening to that a lot, and all of the songs are great on there. Blood in the Cut is I think the single, but there's a song called High Enough. The song The Giver or Giver on there. Oh my God, there's one song on there that's like I can't not listen to without crying. It's like mid record, and it's called Mean It. But anyways, really cool album, and I was listening to it, and then I went on tour with the Vagabondies, which was an acoustic tour with Jenny and Stacy from Bad Cop. Um,
Oh, cool.
yeah, Jillian from Turnspit, Jen Johnson, who used to play in F minus, and Jen Carlson, who used to play in Angry Amputees with Stacy, and also was like original bass player for Bad Cop, and
Yeah.
and Beebs, who's a really wonderful artist. And Polly played a couple shows, but I was listening to that at the time. And I was covering a song on the tour, and so I showed it to like the ladies in the van, and they were like, "Yeah, this is cool." So I have to recommend that one.
That sounds really cool. I'm gonna have to check that out. So, are you someone that if you find something like that, you find like an interesting album or good album, do you instantly want to share it with the world?
Oh yeah, I'm like all about posting it to my story. Like, oh, there's certain people I go to in my circle and be like, "Yo, you have to listen to this," and it's always Neil in the Bombpops, Polly, my best friend Taylor, like really those three. It's like, "Yo, check this out," um, because I know like we just kind of vibe along the same way with the same
Yeah.
stuff, and we always share music with each other. So yeah, as soon as there's something, I feel like Neil and I are like the first. Like Neil and I show each other a lot of music.
So, if you're listening to an album like that on repeat almost, and as you said, you were listening to this when you were writing your half of Death in Venice Beach, do you find yourself? Is it sometimes a bit of an internal struggle to not write in that person's voice if it's something that you're listening to a lot?
No, I don't ever like I can't get into anyone else's voice really, but what it
Mm,
does is it sparks to me like where when it's some if I'm loving the album because of the lyrics, which is usually the
yeah,
first thing, lyrics and melody, obviously for anyone. But what it does for me is wow, it's said so beautifully. And like all they said was so simple what they said,
yeah,
but it's so beautifully. It's like inspiration for me to like just I there's always a better way to say things, I think, and once you have the thing down that you wanna say, like, when it's right. So for that, it was like the way that she said things, and I don't think
mm,
that, like, I nothing I've put out sounds like how I still don't have her there's nothing I didn't do her thing, but it, like, just
yeah.
gets my brain thinking in a different way. Um,
Okay.
yeah, I'd say recently that Taylor Swift album that came out earlier this year, it's like, holy shit. There's this again,
Oh,
do you love
can we just talk about that album for the next hour
it?
because
We
it's
can.
it's just brilliant. I've spent so much of this year sort of going, oh, I'm just going to listen to loads of really cool punk stuff. No, maybe a bit more Taylor. So,
Oh, me too. It's like it's funny because I submitted a list to to Vanessa at Fat. She's like, "What's your top 10 list?" And I was like, "Yo, I'm putting Bombpops album first. I know that's like the cheesiest thing to do, but it's 2020. I don't care. This is the best album." But right under that is Taylor Swift, and man, I've always loved Taylor Swift. Like,
yeah, same.
especially like not. I mean, I didn't catch on to her until like Red, but but oh my god, just it is such a perfect album. Her delivery, her storytelling, and how she it's like it's flawless to me. And
Yeah.
so I remember like when I heard that the first time I dug into it right when it came out, I was like it just inspired me to pick up the guitar. And it's like, oh, okay, so I just love the way that she completes her stories just flow really effortlessly, but she always finds a simple, beautiful way to say things. And such an art to that. And she's clearly has worked on it her entire life and is very good at it and always has been good on it. But like she has just honed it in on this album. And that is really inspiring to me, and it's made me I had a huge like lift in like, oh man, wanting to write Did you see that she just last night released a whole 'nother album?
Oh, yeah, when I woke up this morning, I put it
I
on.
haven't listened to it yet. I was waiting till to listen to it today, but I just was working and then, we're chatting now, so.
It's yeah, it's really good. It's probably I've only had a chance to listen to it sort of once, maybe twice this morning,
Uh-huh.
whilst I was working, but, yeah, it's as good as Folklore, like, it's
Oh, I
not,
can't wait. I am so excited. I wanna listen to it while I'm driving or just go for a drive or something and
she recorded, like, a live
yeah,
session as well on Disney, that's quite good to watch
that
as
is
well.
really cool. I didn't watch it. I've been listening to, I just listened to the version on because she has them all on Spotify too, and then
Yes.
she had one other song on there too. So yeah, oh my god, I'm glad you're a fan, but it
She I mean, she's inherently quite a ridiculous person that, like, I sort of have a love-hate thing with her in that I listen to a lot of her music and, like, she was gonna be headlining, Glastonbury over in the UK this year, and I had tickets, and I was it was her and Paul McCartney and
oh my
Kendrick Lamar as the
god.
headliners, and I was like, "This is gonna be incredible." But, yeah, so sadly, that's not happening, so I was gutted about that, so I was really excited to see Taylor, like but she's quite, like, a ridiculous person as well,
Yeah,
which I quite like about her.
I mean, I think that there's some people that are just that brilliant and um I don't know, you've gotta be kind of weird and strange. I don't think
Yeah.
there's no one normal that's that, I don't know, prolific in writing. It's like, look at all of them, and she just comes in a more, normal looking form and package. So I think it's kinda trippy that, and it's like, we kind of trip out on her. But that's,
Mm,
again, why she's so fascinating, and she's, unapologetic, and, um, there's something about her that I appreciate the class and, some kind of, timeless Americana,
mm.
thing about her that it's just hard to do well, and she does it so well.
So what other bits sort of jumped out for you for 2020? So obviously you've mentioned, the Bombpops album, and we've spoken about Taylor. Was there any other sort of albums that you listened to a lot this year or
Yes,
that sort of got you through the year?
Phoebe Bridgers' Punisher is another one that came
Mm,
out in August or September. Again, it's like I never really listened to her before, and I've tried. It just didn't catch on with me, but oh my gosh, that album is so beautiful, and, in a way, I've 'cause, lately I've been like, Taylor Swift or Phoebe Bridgers, which one am I listening to today? But because they kind of, in a way, because they're mellow vibes,
mm,
but her that's it's really haunting in a way, and, the tones on it are really, strange, and she says things in a such she's a bit more, flowery and, roundabout with, how she says things, where Taylor Swift, I think it's just, very
yeah.
straightforward and simple and, in, the way a country artist would tell a story. Phoebe Bridgers has more of, this, oh man, she just some of her lyrics are so beautiful and unique, and it's one of those. It's like, I think I know what she's saying, and I listen to it more and more. It's like I catch the nugget of what she's trying to say. Like, I was like,
Mm.
oh, that's wow. She said it like that. Um, I mean, it gives me goosebumps, and yeah, that then let's see, I really love, off from Fat Records, of course, Bad Cop. That was really cool because
Yeah, it's an incredible
it
album.
is, and I feel really lucky because I got to see, on the Vagabondies tour, Jenny and Stacy both play, early versions of those songs, and I played early versions of Death and Venice Beach songs, so to see both of our albums come out was really cool. This Lawrence Arms, Skeleton Coast, Lawrence Arms can't
Yep.
do wrong, and that album is very dark and it's very lonely, and, so, it's really a perfect 2020 album.
So thank you so much for coming on, Jen. Before you do, is there anything that you want to plug? Where can people find your music? Where can people find you on the socials?
Yeah, I would just like to plug to listen to Death and Venice Beach, however you choose to listen to music, and to follow the band on Instagram is our biggest social media. outlet right now, and that's at the Bombpops. When we have a lot, 2021, we're content creators for 2021. So, but we have a lot of fun stuff that we've planned and like, or starting to plan and work on. And, we're going to do that. It's all we can do next year. So I would love for people to tune into that and join us as we wait this thing out.
Amazing. And fingers crossed, hopefully you'll be able to get out, even if it is towards the end of next year, back on the road, and so that people can hear the tracks off the new album live as well. I'm really quite excited for you guys to come back over to the UK as well, so I can see you again and see those tracks.
I cannot wait till the day.
Jen, thank you so much. That was really fun.
Thank you so much. Let me know when it's out.
So that was my chat with Jen. I'm very grateful for her giving up her time to come on and be my very first guest. I had so much fun talking with her, and as soon as we finished, I went away and I went onto a massive Alkaline Trio binge, which was a lot of fun. So, as I said, this is our first episode, and with all new podcasts, I have to do that really annoying thing of asking you to subscribe and rate us and help us get into more people's ears and all of that stuff. But to give you a bit more of an incentive to actually do that, I'm going to be giving away a copy of the Bombpops Death in Venice Beach on vinyl to one lucky listener. So all you have to do to enter this draw is you need to leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts or subscribe to us on whatever platform it is that you use to listen to podcasts. Send me a screenshot of you doing that to the email address ItsRecordTimePodcast@gmail.com, and I will, at the end of February 2021, pick out a winner who will receive a free vinyl in the post. That's nice, isn't it? Just for doing a rating or subscribing. So can't ask fairer than that. If you like this podcast, make sure you share it with your friends. We want as many different people to hear this as possible. And if there's anyone that you'd like to hear on here, drop me an email. I'll see what I can do. But more importantly, you probably need to send them an email as well so that they know that we exist. If you want to find me, you can. I'm on Instagram at vinyl__tap. I spend a lot of my time posting about my records on there, as well as various pictures of me and my cat. Or if you just want to say hi or drop us a message about anything else, you can use the email address ItsRecordTimePodcast@gmail.com. I think that's basically it. So stay safe, and I will speak to you all again soon. Bye.